community. It's Stef Milla, ABIC CEO, here today with Helen Golisano, who is one of our ABIC councillors. Welcome, Helen.
Well, hi, Steph. You're looking gorgeous this morning.
So are you, pretty in pink. I love it.
Yeah.
And your hair looks fabulous. You had a haircut, did you?
I did. I think it was just had far too much hair. On the last live we did with all you girls, I looked at it, I was like, just too much hair.
Wolf
So I
happening.
chopped it off. Yeah.
Well,
Feeling a bit overwhelmed.
I've got hair in me. I'm so thankful that you've jumped on our lunchtime live. So we, as ABIC, are going to be putting together more lunchtime lives for everyone, especially in this period of time where there's so many changes to the either economic landscape or the regulatory landscape, the industry landscape, as you will. There's a lot of members and people out there feeling uncertain about so many things, aren't there, Helen?
There are, and a lot of noise, lots of noise going on around, and it's quite easy to get sucked into that little vortex. And I think having a regular catch up and a regular clarity, I know that through COVID, that was a huge help to a lot of businesses, especially I loved getting on, Maria's weekly toots. So I think ABIC delivering some and some different levels would be amazing. Yeah.
Totally. We keep hearing from our members that they want more education, more guidance. We get so many calls every day, don't we, Helen? Just business owners that are confused about either the new IR laws, the new HR laws, the new regulations that have come out. And oh my goodness, my business is just suffering. It's not in profit. Lots of people out there thinking, oh my goodness, can I keep going until the end of the year? You know, what's going to happen? Some businesses still surviving and doing quite well, and then others just feeling the pressure all round. So we actually have talked about this a couple of times in the past, Helen, where, you know, you're such an expert in finances and procedures and protocols for your business and really running award-winning high-level businesses yourself. We can learn so much from you, but you're also a coach. So you lend your expertise to people to actually turn businesses around, and you have a proven track record for this. And this is one of the reasons why we were so excited to have you on as a counsellor, just because of your profound knowledge of the industry and of business. So we wanted to start a series called Mastering Your Finances a little while ago. Now we've finally decided, let's do it. It's definitely time. And today's episode 1. So thank you for doing this, Helen.
You know, the funny thing is, Steph, as a beauty therapist myself, the finance side of it was the side I hated. Like, that was the side that scared the bejesus out of me, and I just used to ignore it quite a lot. Until like about 16 years ago, after, you know, paying quite a large sum of dumb tax, so to speak. I just, I got myself an external coach, and basically he said to me, Helen, you need to love the money and you need to love the numbers, right? So it's all right to say it's your passion and you love what you do, and, you know, all that stuff. And I love, you know, which it still is. But now I have so much more clarity because I learned the numbers as well. And, you know, when you're scared of something, you've got fight or flight, right? You can ignore it, or you can, but that doesn't get you anywhere. But I think that's talking to a lot of salon owners, I know they do ignore a lot of the stuff that isn't that hard, really. And if we face it head on, what they say, when you go through the uncomfortable, you grow. So let's face the uncomfortable and get it out in the open and kick it, and then you will feel super empowered, and you will grow, and it won't scare you anymore.
It is uncomfortable though. Like, I know myself, like many out there who are encountering challenges with the economy, I've noticed the difference in my business. I've noticed the difference with spending habits for my clients. And if you're quick enough to adapt and you're resilient enough to get through those times, you can definitely weather the storm and come out the other end, and even do incredibly well during times like this. But if you're not adaptable, you don't know your numbers, you don't understand profoundly what's happening in your business, you end up going, oh God, in good times it was great. Now now what? And then you kind of go, I don't want to look, I don't want to see what's going on, because you have to face it, and they're hard decisions you end up having to make sometimes. So you say this incredible thing, which sticks with me every time I think of you. I think of this thing that, apart from I think you're amazing, but I think of this one line that you say, and the line is, turnover is ego and profit is king. And when you said that to me the first time, my mind just went, what do you mean? I make this much money.
Well, yeah, let's call it profit is queen. But yeah, no, turnover is ego and profit is key. Profit is where the dollars is, not in your turnover. Like, yes, what I think that really means is a lot of people, you'll hear them talk about their turnover of their business and their turnover of this. Well, that's fantastic. You can have the biggest turnover in the freaking world, but what's your profit? Bottom line is, the profit is what sticks to your hands. The profit is what is going to pay your loans, is what's going to give you your income, is going to give you your lifestyle. The profit is what's going to make that business sustainable, because without profit, you're unable to consistently re-put back into the business if you need to grow or purchase a new piece of equipment, or pay those loans for those, because they're in the balance sheet, not in the profit and loss. So, the profit line is the ultimate thing. And I know, because I have 3 different clinics in 3 different locations with 3 different sorts of clientele. And this really became proliferant through COVID, of course, right? But in the bottom line, I focused on not the turnover, especially the one in the CBD came back out, but the profit line. So that salon stayed profitable even as it came out, even as it weathered the storm, because of that. And I think too many people focus on their turnover, or they compare themselves to other salons' turnovers. Went a bit off target then, but don't compare yourselves to other people's turnovers, because their turnover may be 2 million, right? And they may end up with 50 grand, or 20 grand at the end of it. And another salon that I've worked with, their turnover may only be 700 grand, but guess what? They end up with 250 in their pocket. So it really isn't the turnover. It is the profit in the bottom line.
And that kind of empowers us a little bit, because if your revenue drops, you also have a means by which you can adjust
levers. Yes, you need to know what levers to adjust. So that's where I was going with the city. Like, if your turnovers drops, you need to know what levers to adjust so that your profit doesn't collapse, right? Because in between, on your profit and loss, you've got your turnover up here, right? Then you've got your essential expenses here. Then you get your gross profit, right? These are your purchase of your consumables, the purchase of your products, your wages. They're all up here. They're like your not negotiables. They're what you buy every month. But then under there, you've got all these other things in your expenses, which are levers, right? And you can flex them a little bit. And then down the bottom is your net profit. So I think, it's really good to look, when you do your P&L also, is to look at your percentages, not just your dollars. I think that's a good insight, because I sort of working with quite a few different salons, but also my own 3 being very different. They're different percentages that you can set as your goals rather than the number. You know what I mean?
It's important to have that flexibility, because I know I have 2 different clinics, and each of them have 2 different rents and 2 different expenses. And one of them is more heavily medical aesthetic, and the other one's more skin focused. So different machinery, like same machinery, but different loan structures and things like that. You really need to be able to adapt your clinic, don't your I suppose revenue,
I think,
and what your targets are to your specific needs, I think.
Correct. There are several things that I look at, when you're trying to figure out what net profit your salon should be hitting and what expenses, where the percentages should be. So how do you get to that right net profit, right? Like, how do you get there? But number one, what net profit do you really want? I think a lot of people go into business just happy to make a profit.
Yes.
But in reality, if you don't put that red dot in the dartboard, you're shooting at nowhere. So,
Mm,
you know, you should reassess, like, this year, what did I make last year, net profit? What percentage do I want to see increase this year? Because we all need to increase every year. If you don't grow, you die. And so, you know, what is that net profit I want, right? So, okay, so put that in your goal structure, and then let's work backwards to make sure we get to that. And the main key items that I really want that salon owners need to really look at, and especially when they're not only setting their therapist KPIs, right, but also the business KPIs. So you need to know your break even, really clearly your break even. And your break even is that all your essentials that that you have to pay every month that can't really be adjusted, right? That's your break even. You've got your rent, you've got your wages, you've got your equipment leases, you've got all of that. You need to add all those up over the year and then divide them, and to get your weekly break even. Understanding that break even, that will actually go, wow, all right, so I thought I was doing really good by making this per week, but in reality, that's literally my break even. No wonder I'm not making profit on the bottom. And so then, you know, there are ways then we can dig in deep to try to lift turnover so that you're making more than your break even.
right,
Because
right.
some of these figures here can't be adjusted. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, that's number one. When number two, that's get your break even, then you can look at, okay, so this is how I set my therapist target as well, because your break even is going to be relevant to your rent. I mean, if you're in a major shopping center, your rent's going to be so much higher than someone who is in a home business, or someone who's in a strip shopping. And that I'm speaking from experience. Like, I've got totally different rents percentages in different clinics. So I totally have seen this. And because of that, over, you know, the many years, I've moved my salons to reduce that rent percentage, because that was something that, you know, you can't really easily play with. You've got your rent, you've got your fit out and loans. I mean, some salons spend $500,000, you know, on a fit out. Other salons spend 100 grand, you know, or 20 grand. You've got your franchise fees. Some people pay franchise fees, some people don't, you know, and then you've got your repayments on equipment. You can't compare a salon that does laser and hydrobrasion oxygenios and high-end treatments to a salon who does waxing, lashes, brows, spray tans. And to be quite honest, the salon that does waxing, lashes, spray tans, all the rest of that with the high-end equipment, they might have an LED or something. So they can make just as much or more profit as the salons that are doing all
Oh,
this.
absolutely. Because the overhead
You know,
clinics are so high, and I know that. My overhead,
yeah,
my expenses have absolutely gone sky high in the last few years, because I'm in the medical aesthetic sector of the industry. And everyone thinks, oh my goodness, this sector is extremely profitable, but it's taken a hit with regards to competition out there, lowering prices.
right.
Obviously, with the new TGA changes now, I think that might have a positive influence on prices, because we're not able to do price wars anymore. And I feel like that's going to cross over into the laser and skin part of the industry in the future, which may or may not be a good thing, but it would definitely stop price wars from happening, which has influenced the industry. But the other part of it is that lash and beauty sector are getting more and more expensive. They're smart. They're raising their prices. They're not going to a race to the bottom.
No. And they, yeah, I mean, I had 2 weddings in the last 3 days, and I had my makeup and my hair done both times. And the average cost of each of those was $170 each.
Yes.
So, you know, like, stop and think, like, what are we paying? What are we charging? Don't undercut. I mean, I know makeup artists do spend a lot of money on their makeup, but is it the same as buying a laser or what's that? No. So, you know, there are very different costings in a business. So it's not as easy as looking on Facebook and looking at what someone tells you your team should be earning per hour. It's not that simple, right? But you also need to know that break even, and then you need to know how much profit you need to put on top of that before you get started, because otherwise you're just throwing darts everywhere. You don't really know where you're going. But I've seen rents in salons go from 5% to 20% of their turnover. So, you know, that's a huge variance. In my experience from different salons I've worked with, a good rental percentage to sit at would be about 10% maximum. Anything higher than about 10%, and you're really pushing, because then, your wages, we all love to say that, minimum 4 times your wage at 25%. But I'm talking from salons that aren't doing injectables, right? I'm talking for skin and beauty clinic experience. You might say that, oh, your target's 4 times your wage. But in the end, if your salon, a lot of the salons were to be turning over 3 times their wage, they still make nice profit, as long as their rent was sitting at 10% less than 10%. You up the rent, you need to make sure that you're doing 4 times your wage. Do you know what I mean? How it flows together? Like if one goes up, the other one's got to go up. So, it's not as confusing as you think, but I think people just need to sit, look at your figures, work out that break even. Don't be scared of it. Look it straight in the eye. You know what I mean? Like, work it out, calculate it over 12 months, divide it by 52 and go, shit, I need to make that every week to keep the doors open. Right, girls, like now, then I've got my profit on the bottom of it. And okay, this is what we really need to now. Let's work backwards, right? What do we need to do a month? What do we need to do a week? What do we need to do a day? And then if you don't hit it one day, flow it into the next day. In salon, when you're setting your weekly target, if you don't hit it one day, flow it to that, you missed it by $500, flow that to the next day. Okay, girls, this is our target for today.
I feel like when you're talking about wages should be 4 times what your wages, basically you need to earn 4 times what your wage is, and that's really not happening in many clinics, not even 3.
No.
I'm seeing sometimes not even one, like 1 is better. Like, you hire a therapist, sometimes you're paying 80, 90 grand sometimes for a good dermal therapist, sometimes a little bit less, but you add on bonuses, and then they're making $10,000 to $15,000 a month. That's basically that's 1.5 times their wages, right?
No. So where we also go wrong.
How do you tackle when you're walking into a business that has their percentages are completely skewed in that way? What's the first thing that you look at? Like, what factors actually influence profit first? And how do we turn around a clinic that isn't hitting those KPIs, those targets?
So we're going to work on 2 stages. You're going to work on the income and we're going to work on the expenses. So if you focus on working on the income, I think where sometimes we go wrong is we focus on the KPI. You talk to the therapist about your KPI. What are you doing? You need to be doing this. But in reality, it's just strategic levers that they do every day that help them achieve the KPIs where we need to focus on. So are they doing their toolbox every morning? When they get into work, have you allowed the 15 minutes minimum to do their toolbox and look at their clients for the morning, look at the history, look at the opportunities, assess their products they've had, assess their treatments, look at all of that. Are you paying them for that time to do that? Number one, that's important. Are they touching base with the clients that they had in yesterday and they did that IPL Rejuve on, or they did that nanofractional on? Are they picking up the phone and ringing them and saying, hey, how's your skin today? Those things are your tasks, your strategic tasks that culminate into hitting your KPIs. Because if everything is done, we know it, and it's done correctly and they follow the protocol, this will happen. But if you focus their direction in this, well, they'll go, oh my God, I need to do, 1,500 today. How am I going to do that? Oh, I've got $500 worth of treatments in. I need to make 1,000 in products. That's how their mind goes, right? But in reality, if they just focus on the tasks, focus on every client, what add-on can I do with that LED or peel? What add-on can I do with this? What is the benefit of me selling her a course today? Like I've got a win-win here. The business gets a win and the client gets a win, understanding that win. So that helps lift that turn up. Those courses sales, sell those courses, and focusing, looking at that deep dive into the client history every solitary morning. And then when they have lunch, because you know how your whole day can just go pear-shaped during the day. And you can come in and you can go, wow, I've got this great day. And uh-oh. So what I tend to say is don't do your whole day toolbox in the morning. Just do it for the morning. And then when happens is when you have your lunch break, allow another 10 minutes, come in, see where you're at with your turnover. Yep, that was my 1,500. I've turned over 7. I've got another 800 to go this afternoon. Right, who have I got in? What is her history? What is her product sales like? How long is since she's bought a product? What add-ons can I do with that treatment? All of those little things, you plan your afternoon clients to then hit, and which courses can they sell? What's our promotion for the moment? You know, that needs to be retouched on every morning. And if you're doing that morning and straight after lunch, guess what? They will hit their KPI because they're ticking the boxes. We know it works. We know that if you go through the motions, that works. If you know your knowledge.
Right.
So understanding that some girls, you know, you need to work with your therapist so that they understand how to ask good questions, because it's all about listening. 2 ears, 1 mouth, you know, listen, double what you speak to your client and listening to it. So going back to all of that, you know, I've got a facial booked in. When was she last in? Oh my God, she hasn't had a skin diagnosis for the last 6 months. I'm going to add that on, because guess what? That's an opportunity for sale. That's extra time you've got to talk to her. That's opportunity for upsell of courses or products or treatments on the day. So all of those little things add to extra income on a daily basis. So that's where you focus on that. And I really believe, like, you know, the average cost of getting a client in the door now is like about $60. So focus on the clients you have got coming in already, rather than going out just throwing a whole pile of more $60 out the window. Because if you're not doing it right, you're wasting your money when they come in the door. If your girls aren't focusing on all those little bits every morning, and then every lunchtime, you're actually wasting all your advertising dollar. So then once you're focused, you know, you're focusing on that. Then the flip side, you get your P&L out of your zero or whatever. You take a good look and you highlight it and you go, oh, Jesus, am I really spending that on my telephone per month? Am I really spending that on my merchant fees?
On my electricity? There's electricity grants apparently out there these days.
I mean, we just saved 11,000 over 12 months by changing our phone provider. Like simple little things.
Yeah, I want to know.
I know. Well, we went from Telstra and Vodafone to a company called Telair, and still runs through Telford, but it's so much cheaper. It worked out, if we took everything and piled it together, it's about 11 grand over 12 months. And that's from someone who's been doing this.
Telair, everyone.
So, yeah, I mean, I reassess everything every 12 months. I mean, and there you go. It was just something that new came up. And it gives me far more flexibility between the salons also for redirecting and taking calls elsewhere. And it was, it's going to save us money. So that was a cool thing. But that's one. I mean, merchant fees for many, many years, I used to pay a merchant broker, and every year he would shop it around for me until he got the best deals. Now, like, I pay pretty much way less than 1% on anything. And even when I set up, I didn't take on Afterpay straight away because the fees were too much. So I hang back. And then I hassled Zip Pay, and I got a really good deal for them. You need to hustle, you know, and you need to, pull together sometimes. I think we need to hit these up. Insurance is massive. Like, look at your insurance. We all need it. Make sure you've got it. Like, I'm, you know, in my 32 years of business, I have had one liability claim. But that liability claim, that client, that was a genuine complaint. She had a full right to make a complaint. She got $140,000 payout.
Oh, shocking!
Yeah.
Really?
So
I've been in business 20 years. I haven't had one yet. Oh my goodness!
Oh well, there you go. 32 years, and I've had one, and that was only 3 years ago. And it was from a piece of equipment that just sort of malfunctioned. So, but it was genuine. But, you know, 140 grand, hello, well and truly paid for my insurance over how many years? Okay, so well and keep your insurance.
A flooding, and that paid for all of my insurance for the last 20 years and the next.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
insurance is very important, guys. Whoever
It is.
doesn't have the adequate insurance,
But
look at that.
But shop it around. Don't just go straight to an insurance company. Get yourself a good broker. That broker will shop it around. And then you will make sure that you get the best deal. It is significant. And every year we shop it around again. Don't just repay. Something as simple as your car insurance. I'm going to share this, right? Here in Perth, we have RAC. Now, if you just automatically renew when your bill comes out, compared to going back online and taking out a new policy, you save about $300 by going back online, taking out a new policy.
Really?
Yep.
I'm going to be
If
doing
you just pay
now
instant
on.
renewal, it costs about $300 more. Like, who would have thought $300 is $300? So you've got to relook and reshop around and check out the
I'm a
brokers.
diva of expenses. Like, I'm going to pick your brain. I'm going to go through put a P&L up, and we're going to go through line by line.
Line by line, babe.
Go, all right, this is who we do. This is how we.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do when I work with people. Yeah, yep. Consumables.
So you're putting me to shame. I do not do this, and I guarantee I'm paying through the nose for Telstra. And you were saying you saved $11,000. I feel like I pay $11,000 every quarter for my.
But it's over, the 3 salons, but it's still $11,000. You know,
huge. It's $11,000 in your pocket.
Yeah. So consumables. This is another little thing, right? Cotton balls, cotton tips, all that crap. How often are you popping to the shop next door to pick something up because you didn't quite keep up your consumable stock?
Oh yeah, baby wipe. Quick, go around to IGA and
yeah, no.
we've got to order them this month.
Get them in bulk, and don't be sucked in by where you get them from. Do your little homework. I mean, if you look at the price of Kmart, some of their consumable stuff, super cheap.
Really?
Cotton tips and cotton rounds and stuff. Yeah, and they deliver. Hello, don't even have to go out to drop it off. Then there's like subscriptions. How many? We're all paying Netflix, Stan, and that. I'm not going to go into your home subscriptions, but work subscriptions. We've got all these little things that just pop out of our credit card every month because we've got Canva, Adobe, this, that, Xero. Go through them, see how many you really use and how many you don't really use, because that's just something that you just tick and flick, right? But it's really worth it. Your credit cards, shop and roll over every now and then. Don't stay with the same one for too long. Shop and roll over. You're going to get a huge chunk of points probably, and you're also going to get a fresh run of like 3 months interest free when you shop and roll over.
Wow.
So shop and roll over to other ones, and also checking your return on investment on your advertising, because there's one line on your P&L, you're going to look at it and go, oh God, I spent this much on, social media or Google or whatever. Know what your return is on your advertising. Know what it is, and work out, I spent it there. What did I get back from that? Actually know your return on investment, and don't listen to the marketing companies spin you a whole pile of blah, blah about, you've just got to do this and you've just got to, but you have to keep this going. Otherwise, no one will see you. No, still know your return on investment of that. It's crucial.
So now all these things that you're talking about, line items, right? We've gone so granular as to identify, go line by line. But what about if your bigger expenses, you can do that, but what about if your bigger expenses are just not equating to a profitable clinic? This is, what's happening, Helen, and guys out there, if this is happening to you, please reach out to ABIC to ask what you can do. Yeah. We have businesses calling us and shutting our doors. Now, not everyone, so don't everyone panic when you hear this, but we are having an increased amount of people calling. This is reality, and I don't want to sugarcoat it, and I don't want to whitewash it, okay? Yeah. People calling us saying, we're closing our business, we're going insolvent, or we're selling up, or we're not profitable, we're shutting down. We need to cancel our membership, ABIC membership, because we're not going to be in the industry anymore. And we said, why didn't you call us 3 months, 6 months ago, and we could have helped you to help you not to close your business down. They don't know how to pull their business from not being profitable and being close to closure to getting it back to being profitable. There is a way to do it. And by the way, if you are close to insolvency, if you are struggling, you have a thing called Safe Harbor. Safe Harbor is an initiative from the government which allows you to not risk your personal assets, but to save your business and turn around before you get into insolvency. Okay. All you need to qualify for Safe Harbor is to paid your wages, like your employee entitlements, and your taxes. Now, some people haven't paid their taxes, but they have kept up with the employee benefits. There is a provision for that, I think, as well. Right. So if you're struggling and you have all your employee obligations paid off, and perhaps you have some tax outstanding, you're not, you know, more than 3, 4, 6 months in arrears with some bills, you can actually apply for this program. If you want to find out about it, please send us an email. But
that's great, Stef.
Yeah, and if you, once you get accepted to this program, it saves you. It doesn't, like, they can't come and get your house, or they can't come and get your assets because you've opted to go into this Safe Harbor program. Now, it's very important. But if you're not at that stage yet, or if you're almost at that stage and you don't want to do Safe Harbor because you don't want to say, oh, I'm close to insolvency, but you know your business has potential because it's making revenue, not as much as before, but your expenses are completely blown out and your team is not producing and they're not in line with the new vision and they don't want to adapt, and you want to turn your business around, but you don't know how to. Where do we start? Where do we start looking? Do you need a coach? Do you need someone?
I can't get really excited now. Can I just jump in? Because this is 14 years ago. This is me, right? So, all right. And I haven't spoken to you about this. I had to have 9 months off. I had both of my feet majorly operated on. So I had 9 months off out of my business. I thought I'd put things in place so that things would be okay. And so at the end of, I'll cut it to the end of that 9 months. In that 9 months, I had staff steal off me. I had a staff member open another salon around the corner and take clients, you name it, because I wasn't in the business at all, right? It was a major operations and I couldn't walk. And anyway, so at the end of it, I went with actually one of my suppliers, reps. She said, Helen, there's this, coaching group. They're doing an evening. Would you like to come with me and listen? And I was like, yeah, I want to learn how to sell this thing because I'm done. Like I'm had enough, right? And I went there and I listened, and that is when I started my coaching journey with a coach. So, and I went, and then I sat down with him. I made an appointment to go and have a one-on-one, sat down, and I said, look, I want to sell this business. He just looked at me and said, you've got nothing to sell. You know, literally, your turnover is this, your expenses are that, you're this, you're that. Anyway, went through it with me, and I just looked at him and went, wow, this is after a long time in business, nearly 20 years when I went to him. And that 9 months had actually just taken a huge toll and destroyed a lot of things. And but he said to me, I can turn you around. And if you want to work with me, I can turn you around. And so that's when I started the journey of my actual coaching journey. So it was a non-industry coach, and he was a godsend. And I was with him for nearly 10 years. So
it's
9 years.
It's possible. Do you have to do it alone? Probably not. You don't have to do it alone. Are there astronomically priced coaches? Yes, there are out there. Are there coaches that are better and good, better, best? Yeah, like there are. You probably need to do your research there. But
correct.
The first step is reaching out and asking for help, because you know what happens? We go silent and we just like, there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with what I'm doing. And it's the shame, And I'm part of a franchise, which is extremely difficult. And I'll share my story. It's extremely difficult. I don't have control over what I do in my clinics. And unfortunately, my philosophy is holistic skin health and wellness, and my franchise's philosophy is not. My staff are all trained for holistic skin health, but the franchise doesn't push that, so they push price. So I've got extremely expensive staff, extremely expensive equipment, extremely expensive treatments, which the franchises are saying, no, you need to sell for this low price and I can't make a profit. So I'm struggling very badly right now because I'm locked into a framework.
You're breaking that triangle. You're the triangle
I
of
was going
death.
to ask, you said a triangle. Tell us the triangle. Go.
Yes. So it's price, quality, or service. You cannot compete on all three.
Mm-hmm.
So you stop and think about any company that is successful. They're either focusing on quality and service, maybe price and service a little bit, but never will you get price and quality go together. If you can't compete on price and then that's your focus on quality, two's maximum, you can't go three. So when you've got a business that's trying to deliver quality like you are, Stef, right? And your service, you're trying to keep the level of service up, but then you've got your franchise telling you need to fight in price.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where they call it the circle of death. I mean, the triangle of death, look it up. It's a business terminology.
It's true. I'm suffering from the triangle of death. It's either I have a choice. I either have to get on board and I suppose restaff, rethink about my whole treatment philosophy, or I can't get out of my franchise. So I'm in a particular situation where I'm, struggling that way. Another business will have another situation where they're like you, they're off for 9 months or a year.
Totally. Could be maternity, could be, like having a baby, could be, something, you've got sickness or anything. Time out of your business can make a huge impact on your business if it's not set up correctly before you go. And I would love to share another little tip that I learned way back when Gav first came on as my coach, is the 3 bank accounts and having the separate bank accounts being critical for your business, right? Because, we know that when the BAS comes in or the PAYG or the super or whatever, a lot of people haven't set that aside. So that's number one bank account that you open up when you open your business. And it's like straight up, you open that bank account and then you have your profit and emergency bank account. And then you have your trading bank account, right? And your credit card. So you can click up all those points while you pay your stock.
I've heard someone said you need to have 6 months of operating expenses in your account.
Emergency.
I'm laughing because I'm like, maybe a few years ago before COVID, but not now. I don't have 6 months of operating expenses in my bank account. That's for sure. There's some scary stuff happening out there. So once how do you go from turning your business from being so far gone this way? How do you start to shift the needle if you don't want to give up on your business? What's the first thing you need to do? Oh, have we lost sound? I can't hear you either.
You're back. You're back. Yeah. So you said, how do I go from...
If you're so far this way, down the track of you're not profitable and you've got a staff, overheads are really high, your turnover isn't there, you're not making profit and you're consistently not making profit, but you're close to closing yourself down or being closed down. You haven't given up on your business, but you want to turn it this way. What's the first thing you do? What is the very first step? Give us 3 main steps we need to do.
Okay. First thing you do is have a really good look at your P&L and your figures, and then dig deeper and know, number one, where your income's coming from specifically, right? Like really specifically where it's coming from, right down to the category of treatment, not just...
Really? Okay, great. Love it.
No, because otherwise you throw money at maybe promoting stuff that's not where your money's actually coming from. So
number one, good look. I'm going to send this out to everyone, so I'm going to take notes. So take a good look at your numbers, and that's your P&Ls.
Yeah, and where your money's actually coming from, right? Then look at your team.
Generating the money.
Yeah, look at your team, right? Is this the right team? Is this the team that you want to work forward with?
Right.
Like, is that the team? Right. So there's some, like, I'll just go through quickly. The main categories on your business would be your team, right? Your sales, like where they come from. Is your team the right team? Like, can they do what you need them to do? Okay. You can jump into like, your marketing and that, but don't get distracted in that. Number thing is time, right? Are you really got the time right in there? Like your treatment dollars to your time. Is that correct? Your pricing to your time?
Right.
Because you've got two currencies in the world, right? One is time, one is money.
Love it.
Right? So you're swapping time for money. It doesn't matter what you do. You're swapping time for money. So, so looking at those, like you don't get delved down in looking, what they say, if you put a big glass jar there, what would you put in first? The rocks, the pebbles, the stone, or the sand? Right? So you need to put the rocks. The rocks are what going to make you the quickest turnaround. Right? So number one is, what are my most requested treatments and services that I do that make the most money out of? Right? Go hard on them. Increase those. Don't go hard on trying to increase your services that you don't make as much money on and aren't requested as much.
Right.
And then secondly, get your team, understand your team, get your team focused the right direction. There's 3 little rules there: train, tolerate, or terminate.
Right.
So, look at that. Then understand your time, because your pricing aligns to your time. So if you waste 10 minutes an hour in a day, you've wasted an hour and a half. An hour and a half is how much? If you're looking at $150 an hour and a half is $225 a day wasted.
Wow.
So that's just 10 minutes in between every client that you're wasting. If you're not got your book back to back and you've got 15-minute gap there and a 10-minute gap there and a 15-minute gap there, that's time, that's money. You've got to swap time for money. So there are 3. But overall, like if you're looking at your whole business, you've got planning, time, finances, marketing, sales, systems, people, and management. It's your whole wheel of business. So, you delve in and work on all of those, but don't do it all at once. Okay. So honestly,
first one is your P&Ls. Second one is your team, which treatments are generating you profit and
money. Yeah.
And is your team right? So those 3 things at first.
Yep. Yeah. And then if you're in, you've just like I've spoken to a salon once, her rent was just ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Like, we did the figures, and with the number of rooms she had, she simply would be pushing it uphill to even break even with the rent being what it was. And this was in a major shopping centre. So number one thing you got to do is you got to go face to face with that landlord and just be honest, because it doesn't matter. You can be like a chicken, like running around, and you can make an extra $3,000 a week, and literally it's all going to the rent. So like, you've got to go and have an open communication. And the one thing that I learned when I first came back from that 9 months off is Gavin said, go face your demons. Go talk to every person you owe money to. And when you are open and you have an open dialogue, and people are people. And if you are open and you are genuine and you are trustworthy, and then you follow through with your commitments, they will support you through this. You've been around a long time. So I did that and it worked. And it, like just facing it straight on. And, if you do need to go into go to your landlord and say, look, these are where we are at the moment. This is where we're looking at. Like, I can't do what this needs to be done, like what you need here, out of the space that we have, because the rent is just far too high. There was a few things. There's like not enough rooms to the size of the business and all kinds of stuff. But the one thing I would shy away from is throwing a lot of money at something to try to lift it.
Right?
A new piece of equipment, a new piece of equipment, or marketing, right? Don't go and discount your services because you need cash quick. That's crazy. Focus on getting your girls to sell more courses and more products. Obviously, we're always after that. But more courses of treatments up front. That gets the cash flow in. I know that over the years now, especially, there's talk of memberships, and that's a whole nother conversation that we can have in another day. But I mean, I started skin memberships in my clinics over 6.5 years ago. And we have a 3-set membership structure. And some clients are still paying today not the same, but they're still members today from 6.5 years. A
Wow.
lot of them. We've got hundreds and hundreds of clients in our memberships, but it's ran differently. But that gives you secure money on particular days of the month. So all your rents and everything are paid. Bang. In comes your membership money, bang, paid. So, then you can very easily budget out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what salons need to be looking at is negotiating terms with your suppliers. All the suppliers out there, they're amazing, can I say? Well, our suppliers are here to help the industry and they're amazing. So, just negotiate. There's different ways you can pay your suppliers. You can pay direct and you'll save that bit of credit card expense. But will that affect your cash flow? Especially coming into October when you've got to buy all the Christmas stock and you're not, you're going to get it in, but you don't want to miss out on all those parcels. And they're the great deals and let's go for it. But then, wow, to pay all up front in October, all of Christmas stock could actually destroy your cash flow and put you under cash flow stress when you're due to pay your BAS, in October as well. So, be careful there. Use the credit card, be smart, pay the little bit of extra, use your 45 days on top of that on your credit card, and then make weekly payments into that credit card so that it's paid off. Go to your suppliers and ask them if I buy this amount, what can you do for me extra? Like, honestly, they are very good to deal with if you ask. And many a time a supplier will say to me, what can I do? You don't ask for anything. So, so they will help you. They want each and every salon out there, each and every supplier wants you. Okay. And if your supplier isn't the supplier that wants you and isn't prepared to help you stay in business a little bit, then they're not the right supplier for you. Absolutely. No, go and have a conversation with them. They will help. Set yourself up on that credit card that earns you points as well to pay for that holiday or going to the beauty expo or going to a conference next year.
I haven't been doing and I used to put everything on a credit card and earn so many points and then get it as vouchers for my staff or client presence or things like that.
Yeah. Even your flybys now can be directly connected back to Virgin so that, every time you go to Coles or anywhere to do a shop, you're connecting your flybys and they're throwing it back to Virgin that pays to, because coming from Perth, everything we fly over consistently, so everything's about, let's get an airline ticket happening. And then you've got your team. And I know what happened through COVID. A lot of the salons I've spoken to, we had to hang on to our team afterwards because short supply, and we're still in short supply now. So a lot of salons threw money at their team. And now how do they take that money back? Right. And you don't want to, but if the business isn't happening, when we reopened after COVID, we all went crazy busy. Like it was amazing. Crazy, but now those wages are there, aren't they? They're set in stone. Okay.
That's right.
But money isn't, if you speak to your team, money isn't the only stimulator for a team. And when they've done surveys and they've found that it isn't the major stimulator for a good team member to stay in your team. There's a lot of other things you can offer them. You can have salon dollars where they can utilize it on treatments or products. So that therefore it's not going out of your pocket the same and you're not paying super on it the same. You can have just paid time out. Give them like an extra paid time out, like a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday off or something if they want as a bit of a bonus rather than just upping their wage. Having a team bonus as well as, not just an individual bonus, but, when someone starts with us, we give them a questionnaire. And in that questionnaire, there's a whole pile of questions. Happy to share, Stef.
Oh, yeah, it'd be great.
And it's little things like, where do you get your hair done? What's your favorite
alcohol? I love that.
What's your favorite everything, right? So reward what you want repeated from them in little stages when you're trying to motivate them, and give them, that coffee from their favorite coffee shop, a voucher to the hairdresser, a voucher, like little, $10, $20, $50, things like that are personalized. We use that a lot towards Christmas too, I can say, all the Christmas gifts, but giving them their favorite, asking those things, where would you like to go on holiday? What is your favorite? This extreme from this amount to that amount of dollars value for all the little questions, your favorite cake, your favorite drink, your favorite, online shop, your favorite, whatever, boutique around the corner. So it's a big questionnaire. It's really cool. And then you find out what really motivates them.
I love this. My goodness, we could talk forever. We have talked for an hour.
I
Thank
know.
you. Oh my. So you said you're going to come on maybe every couple of weeks, every fortnight or so, to come and do another Master Your Finances episode until, you know, we get to the series. We'll probably do 4 or 5, hopefully a little bit more if we can get some great topics. But I'd love everybody who listens to this now and in the future to just send us some questions you want to ask Helen in advance. Send them to at the abic.org.au, and we can preload those questions to Helen and actually answer them and have a complete discussion around it. If you are struggling in a way in your business, tell us what that way is. We obviously will keep it confidential, but we'll use the circumstances and give you examples for how to overcome it. Our aim is to help you and help the industry. And thank you, Helen, so much for donating your time. You're so generous. Since you started with ABIC, it's been just a game changer for us. Our incredible new council, how cool are they?
Stef, I'm more than happy to help anyone who's got a inquiry, a one-on-one. If they want to, like, just reach out, not a problem. But also, if we can do these with questions, that's the way I'm best to operate. I'm not a person who is really good at just reading off something. I'm really, I think that comes from the whole handsy, you know, feely therapist thing.
We want to answer everyone's questions, don't we? Like, we want to do scenarios with everyone. We want to know what's happening in your clinic, and, you know, use us as a resource. Watch lives. Come on, these are actual, like, people pay money for this, and good money. Just because it's free through ABIC doesn't mean that it's devalued. Sometimes free means not great value, but you're getting the best minds in our industry doing an altruistic service for us, and let's take advantage of it. We want to get more people on. If you've watched this, share this. Please tell people that this is what's happening, because if we get the word out there, we can actually help lift the whole community, and it will be wonderful.
Totally. Yeah. And no one needs to be scared of looking at their P&L. And just remember, you know, turnover is ego, profit is queen. That's where we want.
Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
See you all soon.
See ya. Bye.